Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT News, and the groups for VCT Masters in Copenhagen have been confirmed. Very interesting at that. I suppose they're randomly drawn, but certainly some of the matchups don't make too much sense between the different regions. And some teams, especially the OpTic guys, seem to believe that their group in Group A is rather too stacked for their liking. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new. As always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to dive into today. Firstly, just wanted to mention real quick, if you guys did miss yesterday's video, the Sentinels situation. Like ShahZaM did say on stream that Sick will not be returning to the team for the last chance qualifier. Big questions on that one, of course, you gave your thoughts to yesterday. But yeah, that pretty much is the going discussion. I do wonder when or where we'll get an update from the team or from Sick or from ShahZaM as to what might be the case there, right? Because if they are boot camping before the LCQ, you'd think they might need to consider what their roster is actually going to be. Because if they boot camp without Sick, and then like Sick is actually okay to play in a couple of weeks' time, which is possible, then of course a lot of that boot camp time might not be going to the best use. So they've got some serious questions on their hands here, and hopefully of course it works out for Sick. But just thought I'd mention that real quick if you guys of course missed that story yesterday. Now another big story of the last couple of days has been the kind of, well, the bug, the spectator bug, which has potentially been allowing coaches for months to effectively see free information on the other team, or whether they've been able to relay that to their team is another question entirely. But the idea that there's no replay feature in this game does mean that coaches could effectively have been getting away with this in official VCT games for months and effectively face no repercussions. Now Riot have seen this and said, okay, we probably need to crack down on this and actually fix this issue very quickly indeed. So they say over the past 48 hours, the development team has worked to deploy an update fixing a bug where the minimap would sporadically show opponents' location to coaches. This patch has now been deployed to both live and esports servers. Will continue to closely monitor the issue. So they say that they fixed it. Now whether they have fixed it is another question, because apparently people have now been getting other stuff that's been going on. Like actually it wasn't this tweet, we'll see that in a second. It was this tweet here in the replies from Miru that, I mean, as from his point of view, this isn't even, I'm pretty sure, as a coach's perspective, but this is from just his POV. He's seeing some weird circles on the map, right? He can see this kind of purple circle right here, this red circle right here, and definitely more and more people lately have been noticing some weird minimap kind of glitches where players and like circles and like maybe last seen locations are just kind of appearing on the minimap. This was of course a big issue for the coaches. If the coaches can just straight up see, like I'm pretty sure they generally believed that it was when a player disconnected and rejoins, this bug would happen for the coaches watching. But I mean, yeah, still, it's pretty much something that has to be fixed, because like we don't want a kind of e-sick investigation to all this other stuff, right? Like the kind of Counter-Strike scandal like we had before, and I doubt it's going to happen. And if I get on top of it, it should be okay. But still, definitely a concern that not only are kind of coaches seeing this, but now even the players themselves have the potential to see something like this as well. Which look, if this glitch happens in an important match and players get free information, what are they meant to do? Right? If I've got the information, I'm not just going to like not tell my team about it. The game decided to bug in my favor. So hopefully they managed to find a way to kind of dial this out as well over the coming weeks as well. Was just going to mention this real quick because of course like everyone loves to talk about Chamber right now. I thought this is pretty funny. If yeah, actually when your Chamber got 9k plus the operator and also got your ultimate, right? Absolutely balling. So yeah, of course, it's going to try and have a good time with that one at Masters Copenhagen. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out across the different regions, right? Because you've got certain teams that are, well, in North America especially, that pretty much use Chamber on every single map. But then other regions, like they haven't really bought into the Chamber hype train quite as of yet, which maybe is viable, maybe is not, because a lot of compositions actually are kind of built to counter Chamber. Whether you can effectively do that is another question, right? We'll see how it goes this tourney, because a lot of regions, like in North America, Chamber's picked pretty much 80% of maps. In Europe and other regions, it's only picked maybe 50% of maps, so definitely the strongest agents. But in North America, like he's used pretty much all the time, right? The pros seem to believe this guy is the be-all and end-all of a composition, but other regions have disagreed. So I'm really looking forward to kind of the inter-regional matchups here. But unfortunately at Masters, we're not going to get quite as much of that as they might potentially have been based on the way these groups have been decided. Now, this is kind of crazy, actually, the fact that Crew Esports, of course, qualified, and Leviathan qualified as well. And, well, of course, Brazil only qualified with the guys on the Loud team, and Ninjas in Pajamas did not. This now is actually the country and region appearances at this major, or at Masters 2. So, well, anyway, 60 players, of course, are there. The most represented country is Chile, which is crazy scenes. Really awesome for that country. South Korea next up, then the US, then Thailand, Brazil, UK as well. Canada, Japan, Russia, Sweden, Argentina, Indonesia, Singapore, and Finland, of course, with only one out of 60, that being Turko on Fnatic. So really cool to see actually the way this has worked out in Chile's favor. We'll see, of course, if they can walk away with anything in this tournament as well. But here we go, then officially confirms the kind of talent lineup for Masters in Copenhagen. Tickets, I believe, are available now for just the last weekends. Pretty sure what's going to happen is we go down from the 12 teams, of course, down to 4 teams towards the end of the tourney, and then at that point, I think pretty sure the crowd is in the venue for the remainder of the tournament. But yeah, we got the crowd update, we got the talent update as well, and this is kind of the format explainer if you guys are unfamiliar with it. So effectively, there's 4 top seeds. The top seed from North America being Xset, the top seed from APAC being Paper Rex, EMEA, of course, being Fnatic, Fnatic, and then Latin America, I believe, is Leviathan, because they beat the team that won the LCQ from the region, so they were the winner of the Latin American side, and Crew won the LCQ, therefore it's Leviathan, they get the #1 seed. Those teams get a bye automatically to the playoffs, and then the other teams that qualify to the group stages. So effectively, these are the groups. It's a GSL style group where it's a win 2 before you lose 2, where effectively you win 2 series, you get to the playoffs. If you lose 1, you have to win 2 more to get to the playoffs as well. So this is how it works. So out of these 4 teams in each group, only 2 will go through, and then I'm pretty sure they're effectively randomly seeded into the playoff bracket, where you then get an 8-team playoff bracket, where this of course will go through the rest of the tournament, right? And of course most of the teams qualified should be in a good spot to lock up their World Championship qualification as well, especially if they also made it to Masters 1. So here we go with the actual group announcement then. So the first matches have been confirmed. These matches will be as follows: OpTic Gaming versus Guild Esports, and then Loud versus Crew Esports, that's Group A, and then Group B is FBX versus Xerxia, and DRX versus Northeptian. So kind of interesting groups to me, and it's frustrating in a way, the way these groups are played out, and I'm guessing they've just been randomly determined in this way, right, and they haven't really given too much thought to it, right? But it would be kind of nice if they did it in a different way to me, because often you don't get too many chances. Like, this is the event where you get the kind of intra-regional matches, right? You get to see what happens when a North American team plays an APAC team, like all this type of stuff. Whereas instead here, we don't have that many inter-regional matchups, right? We have OpTic versus Guild, North America versus Europe. I don't know the last time, if ever, that OpTic have actually beaten a European team. So that's certainly a spicy storyline. And OpTic, in fairness, they get to avoid some of that. They get to avoid Xerxia, right? They were kind of their nemesis last time out in the first Masters. And then, of course, they also, well, formerly known as X10 Crid as well, that also beat OpTic when they were called Envy back, I'm pretty sure, at the World Championship last year. So OpTic get to avoid them, but they do get to play Guild round 1. They're also in the same group as Loud, so there's a very realistic possibility here that Loud and OpTic could play each other, especially because Crew are, like, honestly, the Brazilian demons. Like, well, they're not Brazilian, but they seem to take down Brazilian teams all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if Crew can somehow pull an upset here on Loud, and then OpTic, if they lose a series, like, they'll be down in losers, potentially playing Loud for qualification for the actual tournament itself, which could be crazy if, like, it's possible that the finalist of the last event, the 2 finalists, OpTic and Loud, could be eliminated potentially in the first step of the tournament. So that I thought was an interesting group. I do feel like Group A is pretty stacked and probably is better than Group B to me, just because FPX on paper are incredibly good, but there's no guarantees at all that Shao and Saigetsu are going to be at the event. If they have to play with substitutes, like, the team still has potential, but it won't be what it could be. And then you've got the Japanese guys in Northeptian play DRX, right? So I would guess you got to favor DRX in that one. Really, like, they were a good team last time out, but didn't quite have what it takes to win the entire thing. So definitely I feel like Group B, like, it's kind of one of these interesting series where you've got DRX Northeptian, 2, of course, Japanese team versus Korean team, so, like, similar regional matchup there. And then FBX versus Xerxia is interesting, right, but not the kind of the full strength rosters of these guys. So definitely I feel like Group A is probably, like, well, it's definitely going to be more challenging, I think, for the OpTic guys, especially because Guild have been really good as of late as well. They only marginally lost to teams like Fnatic as well in that kind of European side. Now, as Saigetsu says, can't wait to watch this event. This is the first concern really about the kind of strength of this Group B. I think it would be a stronger group if FPX were at their full strength, but if they're not, as it seems likely they're not going to be, as Saigetsu says, can't wait to watch, right? So that was the rumor. We even saw one of the players, I believe, maybe Trex on Guild, like a Russian player that was able seemingly to get his visa to attend the event, but in Saigetsu's case, in Shao's case, that might not be the case at all. We don't even know if Angel's going to make it yet, although they are confident and optimistic that will be the case. But more than likely, if this is true for Saigetsu, that like FPX are not going to be at full strength, and therefore they might not have a team that's, fully capable of contending for the win this tournament, as they would be, of course, with their full strength roster, I would imagine. Now, some interesting reaction to this really, as Chet says, these seem like good groups. I know this guy's kind of prone to a bit of sarcasm, right? So I don't know if he's really been sarcastic here, but just looking at these groups, to me, I wonder if he's thinking that, like, actually, our group seems way more stacked than the other one. Now, in fairness, as I said, like, if they were in Xerxia's group, they would have to deal with the issue of the kind of the curse they seem to have against that team. But then again, just looking at Group A, like, to me, that seems way more stacked than Group B. That's just my perspective. So I wonder if kind of Ched is thinking the same here on the OpTic side, because last time up, they struggled to even get out of their group, and it could be a very similar story here. The Guild series seems kind of like a must-win, because OpTic, if you're OpTic, you don't want to play the loser of Loud and Crew. That's just not a series you want to play in the loser side of this bracket. And well, even as Som goes on to say from NRG, kind of, well, not exactly convinced it's a good idea either, and even as Valent says, Group A looks pretty damn stacked, right? So definitely intrigued to your thoughts on this. Is Group A way more stacked? Just the way the kind of tournament has worked out and the teams that are there, seems like a Group A, to me, is potentially the stronger group, but we'll see how things go over the tournament, because it's not always so easy to call. Now, of course, just to kind of clarify this, these are the 4 teams that have got the bye, except Fnatic, PaperX, and Leviathan. They go through already to the bracket, and these then are the group stages. So OpTic Guild, Loud versus Crew, FPX Xerxia, DRX versus Northeptian. Of course, these series begin in just a few days' time on the 10th of July. A few interesting statistics then to close out the video here from Willminder. First of all, top 10 players in clutch percentage from the North America VCT Stage 2. This is pretty interesting, of course. It's difficult to read into into this too much, just because you don't get too much information on exactly what clutch they're in. Like, let's say you're a player that, you know, for whatever reason, the way your team plays the map means that if you're last alive, your team has been completely demolished into the bomb site, and you're always in like a 1v3, then of course your clutch percentage is going to be lower. However, if your team sets you up to kind of be in 1v1 situations, then of course you're more often going to have higher numbers here. But bang, Ethan, like of course Marv Reformed, kind of topping the list on these numbers, and of the clutch situation that they managed to find themselves in, and also these numbers as well, the top 10 players in cast. If you guys are kind of unfamiliar with this statistic, this is the percentage of rounds where a player either gets a kill, gets an assist, survives the round, or gets traded, as in the player that kills you, your teammate then ends up killing as well. So this is like anything in the 75-80% range is very impressive. Like, I mean, these are the numbers right here. So Aaron, Ethan, 78%. Ethan kind of topping some good numbers here. So these numbers correlate quite well to how much impact players are having on a regular basis, and these players seem to be coming up at the top of the list once again. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button. Told you YouTube gods, this is a good video. I just like you should see it as well. And I've grown the competitive Valorant community. Thank you as always. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.